Just start off generally, how's it been being in office?
Well, it's been great getting to defend the Constitution, the rule of law, and the people of the state of Missouri. And we've made a lot of forward progress on a lot of different issues. In just the first 100 days, I mean, we filed 18 new criminal cases and criminal prosecution consisting of 60 charges, new charges. We've closed out a lot of criminal cases in which we've obtained convictions against violent offenders. We've defended convictions on appeal. We, at any given time, have about 1,100 felony appeals that we're working on as an office. On the civil side and consumer protection, we fight to protect Missourians' hard-earned dollars, and we've gotten about $14 million in judgments protecting Missouri assets, and that's putting money back in Missourians' pockets. And we've obtained about $10 million in settlements and judgments in our Medicaid fraud compliance unit. So those are taxpayer dollars that went into the Medicaid program that were ripped off that we bring back to the state. So a lot of wins to celebrate, a lot of forward progress on a lot of important issues for the state of Missouri.
Yeah. How is staffing in your office? Are there any areas where you would like to hire up more? Do you feel like you're fully staffed?
Yeah, we're always looking for quality folks that want to come chip in and help out the state of Missouri. And to that end, we've got a practicum with the law school here locally that's a great pipeline to get young students involved in the public sector. And then we recruit them to come work at the Attorney General's office. And when they see the kind of work they can do on day one, I mean, it's very interesting and challenging work. They get to make important decisions and go to court instantly, which is a unique opportunity for young attorneys. So we've had a lot of success there recruiting young talent. We also have instituted programs to try to retain the talent that we have and attract kind of that mid-range attorney that's kind of at the middle of their career that wants to come to the public sector and get to work on important cases that have an instant impact on people's lives. So we're seeing a lot of improvement on the staffing level. Staffing across state government and across the private sector as well is really tight right now. But here at the Attorney General's office, we're firing on all cylinders, and it's attracted a lot of great attorneys and support staff that want to help out.
There was an investigation recently into some rural hospitals that had closed down. Rural hospitals have been sort of hard to get by in Missouri. So do you have an update on the investigation into why the Callaway and Audrain hospitals closed?
Yeah, we're continuing to push that issue and investigate that. I mean, from our perspective, you can't rip people off by promising them insurance and then yanking the rug out from under them. And so we got to continue to look at that and dig through the documents that we're receiving. So investigation ongoing on that. But we intend to partner with anyone in the justice system who's willing to partner with us to hold wrongdoers accountable on that or any other issue.
Sorry. Okay, and still in the medical sphere somewhat, your predecessor played a big role in the abortion rules here in Missouri, and then you've also had a hand in how things have sort of progressed. I saw you even filed something today. So can you tell me about your work on that front and what you anticipate doing in the future?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, we are making folks aware of what the law is here in Missouri. We saw Biden's Food and Drug Administration try to promulgate a rule that would allow the FDA to ship abortion drugs into the state of Missouri, and that violates state and federal law. There's a federal law that's been on the books for generations that prohibits use of the mail for shipment of abortion drugs. So we put people on notice of what the statute is to try to make sure they understood what the laws were, because those drugs, at the end of the day, the Congress and the state legislature have determined them to be unsafe, and so we want to protect women's health and certainly the health of the unborn children by ensuring that the rules are enforced.
And then Kim Gardner has announced her resignation effective June 1st, but I've seen you push for her to maybe step out of office even sooner. Why is that?
Well, it's about the rule of law and justice for victims in the city of St. Louis. And crime is a regional issue. Crime doesn't care that there's 114 counties plus the city of St. Louis in the state of Missouri, or that there's 46 different judicial circuits. At the end of the day, failure to enforce the rule of law in the city of St. Louis has impacted the entire state in a negative way. There's been 500 businesses that have left downtown St. Louis in the last several years, and we know that 96% of crimes reported in the city of St. Louis went unprosecuted by the circuit attorney. So we fought to hold her accountable and restore the rule of law and find justice for victims. And the sooner we can achieve that objective, the better. So we're going to keep pushing, because at the end of the day, it's about the rule of law.
And Governor Parson announced his search for someone to replace her today. What do you hope to see in someone who replaces her?
Well, I'm confident the governor's going to make a great selection there. He's made good picks in the past for his appointed offices, and the governor's a sheriff. He's worked in law enforcement for decades. He understands what a good prosecutor looks like and what that individual needs, the tools that individual needs to have. And I think courage, acumen, and fortitude are three that he's probably looking at that'll be necessary. I mean, there's a backlog of cases pending at the circuit attorney's office. The court in the city of St. Louis has opined that the circuit attorney's office is a rudderless ship of chaos, and so whoever takes over is going to have some real leadership skills to stabilize that ship. But I know there are regional resources and state level resources ready to deploy to help in the fight against violent crime, and people want the circuit attorney's office to be successful, to enforce the rule of law and find justice for victims, because at the end of the day, safer streets can lead to prosperous communities.
We saw people just last week at the Capitol from St. Louis who were asking for more local control. What do you say to them and to the people who want in St. Louis who want to pick their prosecutor?
Well, they'll get a chance to do that here in a few years, but we can't let one individual hold the rest of the state hostage. And at the end of the day, this has reached a point of critical mass where she's unlawfully refusing to do her job, and it's not bad enough. I mean, it is bad enough that in 96% of crimes reported, she's refusing to charge those cases. Now we know it's because she was doing something else. She was pursuing a nursing degree, so that violates the statute. You can't hold public office, refuse to do your job because you're busy doing something else, and that's why the people's elected representatives have empowered me to file this removal proceeding. But I would also point out that there are numerous elected representatives across the state and the region, and they're in the city of St. Louis who have called on her to resign as well.
Just today, the legislators sent a bill to the governor's office that would restrict gender transition care. Do you feel that your emergency rules would still be necessary if that's signed?
Well, the legislature's made an important policy decision, and that is that these drugs and surgical procedures are dangerous and experimental in nature. We know that 0 FDA approvals exist or clinical trials exist to demonstrate the safety or effectiveness of administration of puberty blockers and cross-sex hormones to treat gender dysphoria, which is the mental health disorder that these patients come into these clinics with. And so the General Assembly has made that policy distinction. It absolutely aligns with what we were trying to do in our rule, which is bring attention to the fact that these are experimental drugs that are harming patients, and the long-term health consequences are very severe. And that's why European nations curtailed these procedures years ago. So we're excited about the work the General Assembly has done. We were proud to stand in the gap until they could get a bill passed, and now we'll take the lead in defending that bill from what we know will be an eventual legal attack.
Yeah, the ACLU did also announce today its intent to look into legal avenues against it. Are you prepared to assist in another legal battle?
Yeah, absolutely. And we've seen the ACLU do that in other states where their other state legislatures have passed bills to try to protect patients from these experimental procedures. And we've seen how that has looked in other courtrooms, and we're prepared to defend the state's law here in courtrooms across the state of Missouri or in federal court.
And in Columbia, just on Monday, a school board member announced her resignation because of these laws and your rules, citing all these things happening here in Jefferson City as too much pressure for her. Are you concerned about people leaving the state, and why do you push for these rules when people have made these promises? Yeah,
I'm not concerned. I'm concerned about the patients who aren't actually receiving health care, who are being denied access to mental health treatment in the face of experimental clinics pushing experimental drugs and experimental procedures that have long-term health consequences. I'm concerned about the children who have been harmed or would be harmed absent legislative action, and I'm proud of the work that the Missouri General Assembly has done to protect patients and protect children across the state of Missouri, and I'm proud to have been a part of that effort.
You've also announced your run for 2024. Can you tell me how's campaign planning? How's it going?
Yeah, well, I'm hard at work being the Attorney General for the state of Missouri, and I'm focused on that right now, and we're going to continue to deliver wins for the people of the state of Missouri.
All right. And then for the rest of the year, looking forward, is there anything that we can expect from you?
Yeah, absolutely. We've got an important First Amendment suit pending right now in federal court, where we've uncovered a vast censorship enterprise between the federal government all the way up to the White House with big tech social media corporations to silence Americans' voices in violation of the First Amendment. You know, at the end of the day, the right to free speech is absolute, and the remedy for false speech or disfavored speech has always been counter speech, not government censorship. So we're going to continue to fight to protect Missourians' right to free speech in that suit, and we're going to go to court here next month and ask for an injunction to stop the federal government from silencing American voices.